Hello everyone, this is Jonathan from Shooting Stuff. Today I thought to share with you my short story on my Infinity pistols. I started my competitive shooting career around 1990. And in 1996, I had the privilege of representing South Africa at the World Championships in Brazil. That was my first time that I got my Springbok colors. At that point, I was shooting a Glock 22. We were fairly short on choice in the country at the time, but I had a wonderful time in Brazil, ended in the top 16 in standard gun division, and we had the privilege of shooting with the British team at the time as well as the Americans. The sad news reached the British team while they were competing in Brazil that firearms had effectively been banned in the UK. So all of these guys that we were shooting with realized that pretty much they were shooting their guns for the last time. One of the team members that I befriended was a guy called Rob Adam. He's a firearms journalist. Over the ensuing months after that, coincidentally, my work sent me to the UK and I tied up with Rob there, and at that point we decided that rather than him handing his firearms in for destruction, I would purchase them from him, which I then did and brought them to South Africa. Rob had two matching Infinity pistols that featured quite nicely in his book, the Collector's Book of Modern Handguns, and there's one of the pistols that Rob owned and now sits on the table in front of us. A little bit more worn than when it was photographed for this book, but we had a good time. So in Brazil, we had our standard gun team. It was the first World Championship that actually featured the standard gun division. Until then, everything was just open. There was nothing else. And here's a snap with us and the British team, Rob Adam in the front and me sitting down there. I think all of us a lot younger than we are today. 96 is 25 years ago, so it's quite a while. Anyway, after a little bit of arranging of permits, export permits from his side and import permits on our side, back in the late 90s it was a lot easier and simpler than today. I managed to get the firearms into South Africa just a few days before the Africa Area Championships of 1997. So what you can see is my two Infinity pistols. I have always tried to keep them nearly identical. They're not perfectly identical. I've tried to keep them more or less equivalently fired. So I very deliberately decided early on that I wouldn't have a favorite. I wouldn't have a match gun or a practice gun. They're just two guns, equally maintained, equally shot, and I try to make them have all essentially the same features. The sights are slightly different. The triggers are slightly different. Some of the grip textures are a little different when you feel the details. But these two pistols are really comfortable. The grips are well worn. I've actually smoothed them down a bit because I don't like the extremely rough texture. They're extremely smooth to cycle and a lovely crisp 2-pound trigger pull. I like that very much. So back then, Infinity and STI had separated, and Sandy Strayer teamed up at that point with Mike Voigt and created SVI, Strayer Voigt Incorporated. They've subsequently split up and moved on, and Sandy Strayer, together with his son Brandon, running a family company now known as Infinity Firearms, and they've evolved this a whole lot further. Pretty much this was state of the art back in the late 90s. Rob also talks about them in his book. Very interesting read. The modern book, I suppose, is not so modern anymore, 25 years down the line, but a lot of sentiment for me in those. So what have I done with my Infinity pistols? As I mentioned earlier, I received my Infinity pistols early in 1997. I shot the Africa Area Champs just a few days after receiving them and switching from a Glock. I didn't find it a massive adaptation, and I did fairly well, but nothing earth-shattering. I had achieved my national colors in 1996 and had designs on the next World Shoot in 1999 that was scheduled and planned for Cebu in the Philippines. In preparation for that, I decided to compete in the 1998 Australasian Area Championships held in Melbourne in Australia over the Easter weekend. Quite memorable there was it was also my honeymoon, Lorraine and I having got married in the January. So Lorraine and I got to Australia a few days ahead of our friends Hubert and Hunley Montgomery, who were competing in the open division, and Hubert did exceedingly well. He got a lot of medals, and I was fortunate enough to win the competition and also walked away with a whole bunch of medals, which I have to say, looking back, that match, my mental attitude, my approach, everything, probably the highlight of my shooting career, where I shot the best and achieved the best results, and that was with Infinity. I went on to shoot later in the year with Racing Snake Clint Rafferty, the Pan American Championships in North America in St. Louis, end of June, early July. So we had a good time. Clint won the match. I was unfortunately ill, so I could just support his endeavors to be a top South African on American soil. After enjoying the Independence Day celebrations, we returned home and the preparation started in earnest for the 99 World Championships in Cebu. I was part of the South African Standard Gun team there. We had a really strong team, but unfortunately, due to a huge misunderstanding, this little thumb rest paddle was deemed illegal for the Standard Gun division, and I completed the match in the modified division. Here's the paddle that was deemed illegal in Cebu. It's designed for your support hand, thumb to rest against, and it just gives you a much more solid grip. The rules changed later and they then allowed this. Decent results, but a disappointing outcome for me at the end of the day. I've shot these guns many times over the years, not really competitively since then, but they're fantastic guns to shoot. They're easy to shoot, and even though I occasionally go back to shoot the Glock for nostalgic reasons, it's always much easier to come back and perform using Infinity. They're just really, really easy guns to shoot. I've got grip tape up the front, all just aimed at making it easier and quicker to cock the slide, because I've got a thumb protector to keep my thumb off of the slide while I'm shooting. Thanks for joining me on this trip down memory lane. I've always enjoyed Infinity firearms. We're proud to distribute them in South Africa. Whatever your thoughts are, share them with us in the comment section. That's me, Jonathan, from Shooting Stuff, giving you more time to shoot your favorite firearm.